Hey guys, how you doing? It's Kevtech here, bringing you another video on information technology. I hope you're having a good day. Happy Saturday. And today I want to do some CompTIA Security Plus questions. Obviously, if you make sure you know what to do, rate, comment, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate it. So I want to go over vulnerability management quiz. I have it open over here on the right-hand side. I'm going to share my screen. And obviously, we're going to go over the answers, figure out why that's the answer, why that's not the answer. Obviously, if you're studying for Security Plus, hopefully this helps you out. It makes more sense. I'm just trying to help you pass the exam. I have like a playlist of Security Plus questions. And if you're brand new to my videos, I have a way of the way I teach is I show you the screen, I talk about it, try to break it down in a non-tech way, and that makes sense, yada yada yada, and that's it. That's just how I am with, explaining stuff. I try not to make it complicated. All right, let me share my screen and let's go over this real quick. So give me a second. Screen three. I'll close my email. All right. So it says vulnerability scanning. Select all that apply. So we're gonna do identifies lack of security controls. So obviously, when you're doing a scan, you're trying to look for lack of security controls. Identifies common misconfigurations and passively test security controls. Those are the answers to this one. So select all that apply. So actively test security controls, explore vulnerabilities. We're just running a scan. We're not doing anything crazy. So that's the reason why this is the answer. All right. Next one. Which of the answers listed below refers to the characteristics features of static code analysis? So it involves examining the code without executing it. So remember, static. So if you Google static code analysis, static is basically it doesn't do anything. It stays like methods answers vulnerability without executing. So like basically it's static. It doesn't change, doesn't execute, doesn't move. It just stays standard. It doesn't move at all. It's static, right? So that's the answer for this one. It involves examining the code while executing, often used in early development process, and examines code structure semantics to detect issues like syntax errors, coding standard violations, security vulnerabilities, and bugs. So those are the three answers. That's the answer for this one. All right. Which of the following statements describes the features of dynamic code analysis? So now this is dynamic. Remember, static doesn't do anything. Dynamic actually does something. So we actually Google dynamic code analysis is executing in real time. So obviously, static doesn't do anything, but dynamic actually does something. It moves around. It's like think of it like let's stop sharing for a second. Think of it like how you have IP addresses, you have static. So the IP is 10.1.1.1.1. That IP doesn't change because it's static, right? Dynamic, the IP is 192.168.1.1, and then the IP changes every single time. So it's dynamic because it's always changing, right? Because IP addresses they tend to change after a certain amount of time because the IP is only good for a certain amount of days because of the lease time and all this other stuff, right? So hopefully that kind of makes sense as to the difference between static and the difference between dynamic. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. All right, let me share my screen again. Give me a second. All right, so we're back on screen three. So typically used later in software development lifecycle, analyze runtime properties and memory usage, performance, and error handling, and identify issues such as memory leaks, performance bottlenecks, and runtime errors. And then involves executing the code and analyzing its behavior time. That's the answer for that one. All right. So which of the terms listed below refers to tracking, managing software application components such as third-party libraries and other dependency? So this is package monitoring. And you could actually go online and look at this. So package monitoring, it's just through security because it's not actually, yeah, here you go. So it looks like vulnerability scanning. Uh yeah, so the answer for that one is package monitoring. Which of the following terms refers to threat intelligence gathered from publicly available sources? So this is OSINT. So this is actually like this is where you get actual inter intelligence information from as open source. So basically, you're gathering information that's publicized, like a picture of someone. Like me, if you put my name on Google, like I come up like crazy on Google. So like there's some stuff that leaked out already about me, or whatever, if you're trying to look up more information about someone. Some people use a tool called Sherlock. Sherlock. And then that tool is for trying to find more information about someone's Facebook, someone's Twitter, someone's Instagram, yada yada yada. It's an open source tool. It's free. And you could basically get more information about someone, but that's besides the point. But that's just an example of a tool for OSINT. All right, next one. Which of the terms listed below refers to U.S. government initiative for real-time sharing of cyber threats? So that's AIS. And you're probably, what is the heck is AIS? Association for Information Systems. Or you could just put cybersecurity, and it actually gives you, yeah, it says automated indicator sharing. So that's the answer for that one. What is STIGs? So STIGs is a common language for describing cyber threat information. So that's what that is. So, and it'll actually, if you Google it, it says structured thread information expression standards. So people use STIGs for Active Directory. There's actually if you do STIX, and it actually gives you like oh, what should you be setting up for Active Directory if you're setting it up, and it gives you like what are the vulnerabilities. So this basically gives you an overview of like different types of vulnerabilities that you should be aware of if you have Active Directory set up. Gives you a guideline on what you should be enabling on your Active Directory domain controller as a structure for STIGs. So it literally tells you best practices for your domain controller. So anyway, we'll go back to this. All right, so that's the answer to that one. A dedicated transport mechanism for cyber threat information is called taxi. And you're like, what the? Like a cab? Taxi? No. Trusted automated exchange of intelligence information. So that's the reason why that's the answer. Okay. Which of the following provides insights into methods and tools used by cyber criminals to carry out attacks? So this is going to be TTP. And then TTP. And I'm just going to put cybersecurity, tactics, techniques, and procedures. So they'll basically create, they do a tactic, they create a procedure, they create some sort of method to attack you using malware. They use some sort of way to get into your system or whatever. So for threat actors, if they're a threat actor. So that's the answer to that one. Which of the following statements does not apply to the dark web? Typically requires specialized software to access this content. This does not apply to the dark web. So that means which is not needed for the dark web. So they use Tor. So they use Tor for that. I know they use that to access the dark web. So the answer for that one is not going to be this one. Not indexed by traditional search engines. It's not going to be that one. Often associated with trainings. So there's actually you could go into the dark web and you actually could access this stuff, this type of information. I mean, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying that is valid, but I'm not going to tell you to do that. But it should be this one. Forms a large part of the deep web. That's the answer to that one. All right, penetration testing. So yeah, it bypasses security controls, actively tests security controls, and then exploits vulnerabilities. Only identifies lack of security. Doesn't make any sense. Passively testing. No, this is not passive. This is active. This is very aggressive, basically. So that's the other reason to answer for that one. A responsible disclosure program is a formal process established by an organization to encourage security researchers and ethical hackers to report vulnerabilities they discover in organization systems or software. A bug bounty program is a specific type of responsible disclosure program that offers financial rewards to security researchers for reporting valid vulnerabilities. True or false? This is true. So you do bug bounty program, cybersecurity. They have that. HackerOne has it actually. If you go to HackerOne, They have that. So you're the hacker one opportunity page. They put vulnerabilities here all the time to make money. You get money out of this. If you're good at this, I don't do it. I don't do any of this. So don't even ask me to try to do this because I'm not like a red team guy. Certain things I can't do. I tell everyone like I'm not the expert of everything. I only know how to do certain things, right? So if you're into bug bounty, then this is probably for you, right? So back to the screen. Yeah, so this is true. All right, an antivirus software identifying non-malicious file as a virus due to faulty virus signature file is an example of false positive error. Which of the answers listed below refers to a situation where no alarm is raised when an attack has taken place? False, negative. You'd actually Google this actually. A test result has been incorrectly indication of attribute, disease, etc. So you're just gonna put cybersecurity. Security tool fails to detect an actual threat. So this has happened before. I've seen it happen before. Not in my actual job in the past. I'm not gonna say which company, but it failed the Bloodhound attack on the domain controller. So it has happened to me. But I'm not gonna tell you which company that is, but has happened to me. The tool did not do what it was supposed to do. Anyway, a measure of the likelihood that a security system will incorrectly reject an access attempt by an authorized user is referred to as FFRR. And you can just type it in there. False rejection rate, cybersecurity metric measuring the frequency that authorized users are wrongly denied access by biometric systems. There you go. That's the reason why that's the answer. Which of the following terms refers to a framework and knowledge base that provides understanding of TTPS used during cyber attacks? So it would be this one. And actually, you can look this up. There's actually this is a MITRE ATT&CK. So you go into, yeah, here we go. I found it. It gives you all the different types of attacks: execution, initial access, defense evasion, discovery, lateral movement. So lateral movement is like in the network. Credentials access, and it tells you like, oh, this attack is advisory in the middle, gives you more information, gives you more information about the attack. So that's the reason why this is the answer. This is actually a framework that we follow for cybersecurity attacks. All right. Which of the answers listed below refers to an industry standard for accessing and scoring the severity of computer system security vulnerabilities? So this would be CVSS. You can search that. It's just going to go into cybersecurity. So common vulnerability scoring system. That's the reason why that's the answer. You could go into images and it'll give you more information about it. Like it's a score that they give you if there's vulnerabilities in your environment. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. Which of the following refers to a system that identifies, defines, and catalogs publicly known cyber security vulnerabilities? So this is a CVE. You guys should know what a CVE is. If you don't know what a CVE is, well, if you have experience, you should know what CVE is. If you don't know, I'm gonna say you're sleeping under a rock, but you should know what it is. So it's common vulnerabilities and exposures. That's the reason why that's the answer. All right. What is exposure factor and vulnerability analysis? So a degree of loss that is realized that a degree of loss that a realized threat would have on a specific asset. That's the answer for this one. Last question. Which of the statements listed below does not refer to a vulnerability response and remediation? So applying updates and fixes provided by software vendor to address the vulnerabilities, hatching, ensuring financial recovery from the costs associated with a successful cyber attack. Insurance does not refer to vulnerability response and remediation. Dividing a network into smaller isolated zones to limit the potential impact of vulnerability. Segmentation. Mitigating the risk associated with a vulnerability that cannot be immediately patched by implementing alternative security measures. Compensating controls. Delaying or foregoing a patch for a specific system. When applying a patch may not be feasible due to compatibility issues or potential disruptions to critical systems. Exceptions, exemptions. All of the above are examples of vulnerability response remediation. Yeah, so the answer is this one. That's what all the above are. All the above are vulnerability response and remediation techniques. That's the answer to that one. All right. So we got that right. We got that right. We got that right. We got that right. Good, good. True, true, false, negative, blah, 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 blah. So you got CVE. Awesome. We got all that right. That's good. All right. So that's it for me, guys. Hopefully this video helps you out. I'm just trying to put more videos out there for CompTIA stuff, for Security Plus mainly. Trying to help people pass their exam. With that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday and hopefully this helps you out. All right. Take care.